Are you looking for entertainment for a fundraiser, outreach, youth night, date night, or for a conference? Does your team need a way to improve team camaraderie, confidence, and communication? Well, look at Well-Versed Comedy for a show, performance, or a workshop. Well-Versed Comedy is Chicago's clean comedy team, and we're ready to serve you, your audience, or your organization. We've headlined our own shows at the Second City, at Getty's Comedy Club in Indianapolis, and started our own TV show called His Line. And we've raised over $5,000 for charity in just the last 2 years. We are now booking for your back-to-school bash, fundraiser, and even your holiday parties. Contact us today and let's see how a night of high-energy, clean, original, family-friendly comedy can make your next event memorable for all the right reasons. Connect with us on social media at WellVersedCMDY. That's at WellVersedCMDY, or online at wellversedcomedy.com. Wellversedcomedy.com. For booking information, email us improv@wellversedcomedy.com.
Welcome to the Gifts for Glory podcast, where we celebrate and promote men and women using their gifts for God's glory. Know someone who is making an impact for God's kingdom using their gifts, talents, and passions? We'd love to meet them. Send us an email at podcast@giftsforglory.com. That's podcast@gifts4glory.com. And now here is our host, Dave Ebert.
Hey, good evening, and welcome to the latest edition of the Gifts for Glory podcast. I am your host, Dave Ebert. So glad that you're along with us here this evening, or if you're watching us on the replays on the Creative Motion Network or the Taken Television podcast channel. Thank you so much for joining us. Really glad that you're here. I got a great show tonight. Really excited to interview two amazing people. Actually, I will have three guests on tonight. Gifts for Glory first. We'll have three people on, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But a huge shout out to our friend Felicity Joy, our Patreon supporter, who's supported the program for a number of years. We're so grateful for her support. If you would like to help us out, join the force at patreon.com/gifts4glory. And we definitely appreciate all of your support with that. And with that said, let's dive into our Devotions with Dave segment. We're going to be reading tonight from the book of Matthew, Matthew 18:6. And the reason I chose this verse is I just served at a PK retreat. For those who don't know, PK is Pastor's Kids. And for me, during this weekend, working with the kids and just seeing them being poured into and prayed over and supported, it really spoke to me that there's a word that came to me, and the word was microscope. In many ways, PKs are seen and they're under this microscope, but they're really not seen. They're not seen as kids. Sometimes the emphasis is too much on the word preacher and not enough or nearly enough on the word kid, because they are kids. They're normal. They didn't choose the ministry. They weren't called necessarily. It was their parents, and yet they're under this microscope. And sometimes they get the brunt of somebody, maybe well-meaning, coming up and saying, hey, so you should know better. You're the pastor's daughter. And that actually is very unfair. And that's why I chose this verse today for our Devotion with Dave, Matthew 18:6. But if you cause one of these little ones who trust in me to fall into sin, it will be better for you to have a large millstone tied around your neck and drowned in the depths of the sea. Very harsh and strong rebuke from Christ. And for me, this verse kind of applies to the situation of we should not look at pastors' kids as somehow better or having more responsibility than any other kid, our own kids, because they're kids. They're still children in their walk, no matter how old they are, and they're still growing and developing, and we need to come alongside them and not lift them up on some pedestal expecting them to surpass every other child, because they're kids. And we should not come in the way of their relationship with the Lord or with the church because we're expecting them to be somehow superhuman children. And I just want to encourage you, remember that a PK, a preacher's kid, is a kid first. And be careful that you don't put them under some unfair judgment that could cause them to step into sin. So that's just a admonition here. Just want to encourage you in that, because PKs are awesome kids. they sacrifice as much and sometimes more than even their parents do because of the demands of what their parents do. So that is our Devotion with Dave segment. Now I'm going to bring on two of my best friends. Seen them from the dating to engagement to marriage to baby number one and now baby number two on the way. That's why I said we have three guests tonight. Please welcome Jesse, LaDonna, and Elijah Sault. Hey guys, how are you?
Hi, we're doing all right. Thanks for having us on, Dave.
Absolutely. So we've had some technical issues, so apologize to anybody watching or apologize to you guys if my internet is not up to speed. I think because I was gone all weekend, the router is just taking a break right now, or maybe because it's a federal holiday and it's like, I don't have to work very hard. But so you guys are the youth pastors at Thrive Church, which is our home church for Bobby and myself, as well as obviously you guys in Lockport, Illinois. So tell us about the youth program. Tell us about what you're planning to do in 2023 with it, as well as some of the successes you have had.
Well, what we've been able to do with Thrive's Youth is when we kind of took it on, we didn't have a weekly meeting. We didn't have much of a time to devote towards the youth. Leadership for it was a bit sporadic and fell ultimately on Pastor Brian at one point, which, as anybody in ministry knows, being the head of one ministry is hard enough, and then being asked to be a pastor, being the head of multiple ministries, that just adds so much to it. So when he asked me to take over, and LaDonna, eventually when we got married, to be the partner for it, what we provided was really just somebody who was there just about every week, taking one off every now and then, just to rest a little bit. But it brought a bit of stability to the ministry. And since then, we've seen some good growth, especially in the kids when it comes to participation, hanging out, inviting people out, getting to the events, the momentum, breakaway, those things. It's been awesome to see the growth in these kids, and I can't really take much credit for it. I know all I did was provide a place for them to meet, and LaDonna, of course, finding every single place under the sun that we could possibly find on a Wednesday night, setting all that up, made it so they could invite people and know that we would be there, and it wouldn't just get canceled randomly. So
Right.
That's really all we did was provide a stable environment for them to come every week and do something. And that just kind of allowed things to grow. And this year we've set a few lofty goals. We're trying, of course, to continue to grow the youth group, but we're trying to go a bit deeper this year, which is our word for the year. Last year we lived life on a mission. This year I want us to go deeper into why we should live life on a mission. Go deeper into scripture, better knowledge of it, and how to share that with our friends and family who might be struggling with it and encourage them through it. And deeper into our commitment to furthering God's kingdom. So we've set some goals for raising money for Speed the Light. We've got a few goals for how many kids we want to go to camp in the summer and how many for Momentum. And last year we met every number except for the Speed the Light number, and we even exceeded certain numbers when it came to going to Momentum and Breakaway. We had more kids go than ever before to both of those, and it was a bit more than we even planned on originally. So this year we're hoping to see that trend continue upwards, because these kids have a lot more fun with more kids around. So.
And one thing I want to bring up is you talked about the giving for Speed the Light. And before we talk about what Speed the Light is, when you're asking the kids to give, you're not asking them to ask mom and dad for money to give. You're asking them to put skin in the game and pursue that.
Yeah. Well, something I started this year off with the last few weeks was letting them know we have a goal as a youth group to raise $5,000 as our stretch goal. $4,000 is the goal, because last year we raised a little over $2,000, which was awesome considering the year before that we may have raised $400. So, but I told them this is from them, so they can come to us and ask for help, but we're not the ones shooting the videos. We're not the ones knocking on doors. We're not the ones going up to people and asking them to give. This is a youth's thing that's supposed to teach them how to raise money for the kingdom and further God's word around the world. And having that heart to serve, yeah. We're looking for that, the knowledge that they know how to go out and help in that way. Last year we had 2 of our kids raise a good portion of the money, and then towards the end we had a few extra step up and do some fundraisers towards the end, but it was all up to them to go in and sell the tickets, to go in and get the people to donate. And same thing this year, if we're doing a bake sale, the kids will be baking the cookies. If we do a marathon, the kids will be knocking doors and raising money and doing the marathon. We might hold the camera, but we're not going to do much of the legwork.
Or the tamales.
Or tamales, yep.
They'll do the prep work, and I'll just tell them what to do.
LaDonna will get the food together, and they'll have to do all the prep and cooking and putting it together under her supervision, of course. So it's still as good as ever.
Yeah.
But just making sure the kids know this is their job. This is their ministry that the AG in our state participates in so much, and it really does help them focus on it.
And another thing too is when they get skin in the game, it means more when they hit their goal or when they miss it. It's it gives them ownership of something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But there's some pride that comes from knowing that God has used them. It's a great growing experience and definitely opens their eyes to what they're capable of doing. To have 2 kids raise over $1,400 last year, and I mean, I'd say we helped very minimally with that. It was all headed up by the 2 of them to go and do what they wanted to do and raise the money, and they did a great job of it.
Yeah.
And I just told them, imagine if we had 4 kids, if we had 6 kids trying those things to raise money for Speed the Light, the number that I put out there that I think God wants us to target is easy to hit, which is why I also added that stretch goal. So,
there you go.
Because I know if they work, God will. It's almost like if you plant the seeds, God will water the ground, right?
Right.
We can't make the seeds grow, but we can just be there to work and spread the word and do what we can do, but God will make it flourish if we are serving Him.
Yeah. So tell our audience what Speed the Light is and why you're raising money for that organization.
You want me to put that on? You want me to?
You can.
Well, Speed the Light, primarily what I've noticed they do is they give cars, like money for cars, to missionaries around the world and in our local area. They also use some of their finances to help planted churches, like Thrive has benefited from a Speed the Light gift in the past. Some might say we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that early on. But they have a heart to reach the youth and to reach the unreached around the world and to try and make that possible wherever they can. I know we've got some people that are close to our youth that have been blessed recently through Speed the Light. A bigger vehicle for a guy who's 6'6". Instead of getting in a Prius, he now can actually get in without hitting his head on the door. And they can travel around the state and around the region.
You're talking about Billy Willis. Billy and Katie will be our guests next week.
Yep. They're on next week? Awesome.
Oh, yeah, you did say that.
So they've been blessed by it, but Speed the Light is just a great way for the kids to see the real tangible way that their money is helping.
Yeah.
And I think when they heard things like Billy and Katie Willis were being helped by it, that Thrive Church had participated in receiving the gift from them, it really did strike a chord with them that, hey, this is something that's good because it's helped us have Thrive Church and it's helped them reach so many kids, and we love Billy and Katie. So, when they see that tangible nature of what their work is actually going for, it just really opens up their hearts a bit more. So I like that.
Yeah, to spread the gospel.
Yeah.
So you also brought up 2 events that happen in the youth calendar. Momentum, which just happened in November, and then Breakaway, which happens this July. Tell us a little bit about Momentum and then the camp breakaway.
Would you like to take that?
About momentum and
Yeah.
then camp breakaway. So momentum usually happens in the fall. We try to get as many students as possible. And there's a lot of teaching and a lot of music, a lot of worship. Most of the time the kids love when we break up into groups. But sometimes when they get overfilled, then it's like, oh, we didn't get to go to this class, and they, or the class that they wanted to go to. So they do look forward to that, and they love writing their sermon notes when we're there. I love seeing the children just fall on their faces for God there.
Yeah.
The Spirit really moves at Momentum, and they come home filled, and it's pretty awesome.
It's a great way at the end of the year. It's right before Thanksgiving. It's a great way to just, like the name is, momentum, keep the momentum going. We don't get to meet very often with all the other churches and all the other youth groups. And some of these kids, if you go to Breakaway Momentum, you see them at both places. And these kids are from all the way south in our state. They're from north, all over, and they come to meet in one place and just worship God together, encourage each other, lift each other up.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a great way to keep that momentum going into a long winter here in Chicago.
Yeah. What I do love also, a change in Momentum too, is that they used to meet up in Springfield, and now we meet at Calvary in Naperville.
Right next door, pretty much.
Well, but I love it because it helps that church, and it helps get everyone together in that, in that space. So, and so Camp Breakaway.
Breakaway being down at Lake Williamson, which you were just at. I hope you had some fun down there. It's a little nicer in the summer than in the winter, from what I hear. But it's a great week, and I love how our district has done a great job of making it affordable for kids. I've been in youth ministry now longer than I've been in Thrive, of course. I've been doing youth camps for about 7 years now. This will be my 7th year of it. And the other camps I've gone to, one of them could be very expensive and cost prohibitive, where we would normally be able to get 60 kids to go, only 30 could afford it or something like that. And the other one was like, okay, the lower cost, for some reason, it was, of course, a lower quality. With Lake Williamson, the AG has been very blessed with this one. It's top-notch with what they put on, what they work for. It's a week of solid get-together, good games, amazing time with friends and people that you get to see once or twice a year, like I said, with Momentum and Breakaway. A lot of games, and great message. Pre-service prayers. They understand that there's kids there that don't know the Lord, so they outreach to them, and then they understand the kids that this is their 6th breakaway. They've already been saved. They've already been baptized. They've got the gifts of the Spirit. Mm-hmm. They utilize that too. They're not just targeted to one audience. They do a great job of reaching everybody and encouraging at just about every stage. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to it again this July. And we're going to do our best to see. It'd be nice if we could raise some money for a bus. It'd be great to take a bus load of children down to Lake Williamson and drop us off down there and not have to rely on 4 vehicles like we did last year to get us down there. Or was it 5? Shoot.
Well, this past year, I know a lot of the girls and guys really liked doing the separate service where it was all girls and all boys. It really impacted them, those services and those late night services. I got to go while I was pregnant with Joshua, and I got to camp there. This past year, because I have little Joshua, I didn't get to be there, but I did get to bring the girls and bring the girls back home. Yeah. And I got to stay there on Lake Williamson for a little bit with a grandma, and got to go to one of the worship services, and really missed it because I love how they set up everything. You get this. They're just all full of life and full of energy and full of joy. And then the mourning and weeping that happens, they receive joy after that too. It's just, it's pretty awesome. And that's why they have momentum later on, because it's just so full of life,
Yeah. So Jesse, how good are you at 9 Square?
I used to be a bit better, but because I know I have a hard time spiking a ball in kids who are 6th graders' faces. If you're a high schooler, I'm going all out. But yeah, the fact that I'm playing 9 Square with a kid who's half my size doesn't quite seem as fair, unless they start talking. Then of course I gotta slam that ball as hard as I can in their head. But the ball is, it doesn't do damage. It might as well be a Nerf ball.
I picked it up this week. Yeah, I played this weekend. I didn't know what to expect out of the PK retreat, so I did not pack athletic shoes. So I just had my walkers on, and I was still able to hang in there. And
okay,
yeah. Well, if you're tall, you sometimes can get away with just standing there and turning around in a circle, but it's still very much a game that you'll sweat in if you play it with just enough to fill the 9 squares.
Right.
I got to play a little bit while pregnant.
Did they have mercy on you knowing that you were with child, or were they?
I think that's why they were too nice to me, but yeah.
Not me. I target her as soon as I get in there.
Yeah, you do.
All right. Well, for those that are listening to the replay, if you're interested in what the Illinois District is doing with the Momentum, Breakaway Camp, and the other programs, check out ILSM online. That's Illinois Student Ministries Online.com, ILSM.online.com. And also for those that want to connect with Jesse and LaDonna and the youth group, you can find us on EncounterThrive.com. Or you can find the youth group directly on Instagram at yth.thrive. So that's at yth.thrive to connect with the youth group on Instagram. I serve most weeks with the youth, and we're always open for more. If you're interested, you don't have to be a member of Thrive Church. Just come on out and come have some fun and learn a little bit about Jesus.
Yeah.
So I want to transition now and hear your stories. I know that both of you have some really great testimony, and your marriage kind of is the song "God Bless the Broken Road" that brought you guys together, and it's just been a joy to watch you guys grow together. So I'm going to stop talking. I'll let ladies go first. LaDonna. Tell us your journey to find Jesus and ultimately to find Jesse.
So I've always had a hunger for God. When I was 5 years old, I was baptized non-denominational with oil on my head, and I didn't understand what was going on. But after that, I come from a background where there was a lot of, in my family, there was generational curses and alcoholism and a lot of darkness. And so I always had a hunger for God's order in my life. And so, funny thing, my parents let me go to church, a Baptist church in Indiana, that a bus would pick me up and just take me. And I got baptized like 5 times, dunked in water. Don't know why. I just did at 10 years old. And then I was Lutheran because I wanted to be Catholic so bad. And because my parents told me I could be anything but Catholic. And
Be anything but Catholic. I want to be Catholic.
So I became Lutheran.
Which Catholic light?
This is Catholic.
Yeah. And there
Just
was
no Pope.
and there was a pastor there, and I got to do. I did what was like a youth group at the Lutheran Church, and that was more Holy Spirit filled, right? And so then, through all my challenges as a teenager and such, I did get married Catholic, and then my children were baptized Catholic, and then later on, after I became Christian and had a real tangible relationship with God in my early 20s, I think I was about 24, I think, when I was baptized as an adult and understood what I was giving to God. And I still had a lot of things to work on. And that was at Parkview Christian Church. And then raising my children, I was a single mom for 12 years. Worked a lot and had a lot of brokenness, and was healing little by little. And a year before I met Jesse, or not a year before I met him in improv group. We just talked about this because of a wedding we just went to. Our friend Jeremy invited me to one of the improv team's shows. Maddie Boy Fan the Flame. Mm-hmm. And they said, we need some women on the team. And I was interested because I loved acting and such. And then we became friends, and nothing more than that. And then a year later, we got in contact, and we were, I don't know, we went to see Spider-Man, and that's how things started. But that year before I started dating Jesse, I fasted like no other. And I was closer to God than I've ever been in my whole life. I was like, God is my husband, and that is it. And I was praying for those things. I was praying for a husband. I was praying for God to prepare me to be a wife, and to be open to have children again. And obviously I am. And when I noticed that God really brought Jesse into my life, I was like, wow, a man of God, and I'm attracted to him. And it started like that, slow and beautiful.
So I just want to tell the folks out there listening that when she says she worked hard, she did a lot of work, that's an understatement. At one point, she had about 5 jobs, I think, as well as being a single mom. It's kind of cliche and it's a joke, but I was like, I think she's a quarter Jamaican. She just had
a quarter Jamaican. What?
Survey jobs. Oh. One thing I love about her testimony is it's a good testimony of come as you are. God will accept you in, and then God will then work on your life if you allow him to. And every time she shares another piece of her testimony, like, wow, that changed too. Or there's another, it's a long testimony that when Dave said, share your testimony, I was like, well, good luck getting this done in under an hour. And I had to tell her do bullet points. She has so many instances where God just helped her overcome so many different things in her life. And it really was that refiner's fire sort of thing, removing the impurities. That was awesome.
So in that walk, was there a time where you felt like you walked away from the Lord, or do you feel like it was just your relationship with the Lord didn't grow?
Well, in my early 20s, I struggled. It was kind of like a roller coaster. I know that there were times I was living the word, but at the same time not. You know, I knew that I wasn't doing things right, but I didn't completely know that I wasn't doing things right. Like, there had to be a lot of conviction and grace and refining, pruning, and cutting off those chains, cutting off what was not of God. And it took a lot of friends like you and Bobby to speak up and love with mercy and grace. I appreciate all of the people that God brought into my life. Everyone that was at our wedding had 10 years of my testimony with me. It's crazy because I can't believe I knew Cassidy while I was a single mom in an abusive relationship. And I knew Jimena while I was going through that. I knew her while she was going through her mourning. And also Michelle, I knew her a little bit because she was at Parkview with the kids dancing. He was one of those leaders of doing those cheesy dances.
What you do now, right?
In kids' church, yeah.
Which is funny you bring up because we have footage. Let me put. No, I'm kidding.
That'd be funny.
That's called a segue.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just incredible to see all those people united, and they came to thrive.
Yeah.
And we came from different churches, like Parkview, Cross Point. I know some people went to the one that's by Parkview. I forgot what it's called. But anyway, it's just incredible to see them all there united at Thrive. And I hope that and pray that, we'll have many, many, many more years together.
All right. So, Jesse, what's your story? I know that yours is a different road, but share as much as much as you feel the Lord's leading you.
Yeah. Well, I know LaDonna shares that her parents weren't adverse to her going to church. Just don't be a Catholic was their philosophy. My parents, however, were much more. Every Sunday we're going to church. And we're going as a family, and you're sick, get over it. We're going to church. So I was raised with the mindset of going to church, going to midweeks, going to small groups, seeing all that. And I knew God existed. I always did. But I will say, like you asked the question, was there a time when you went away from it and came back, et cetera? And I know I definitely did. Part of our combined testimony is a failed marriage before we found each other. Hers was while she was a little bit younger than I am, but there was no less failure. So I knew when I was marrying this other woman, I knew I wasn't doing what God would have wanted me to do, and I was doing it really more out of spite / pride, and not wanting to admit that I was messing up as badly as I was at that time. And a few years later, she's cheating on me. I'm angry at her, and the way I like to look at it is, if you looked at me when I was 16 to when I was 24, my 24-year-old self was nothing like I was when I was 16. But if you look at me today versus when I was 16, it's like he's a lot more like he was when he was 16. I remember after separating from my ex-wife, I remember thinking about all the times that I would go to church. I would be in a church softball league. I'd be playing worship. I'd go to small groups, youth groups, etc. And I just remember there was a lot more joy. There's a lot more happiness in it. And so the first thing I did when I separated was I started going to church every single Sunday. And about 11 months after that, there was a baptism service. And I had not been planning at all on being baptized. The entire time I was going to church, I was also going to a Christian counselor to try and help me get back on the right track, get me biblically focused, everything like that. And I had been sprinkled when I was younger, and the way I looked at it was like, oh, I was sprinkled, and if I get to a certain age and I haven't fallen away from Christ, that's my baptism. I was like, it was my excuse not to take the plunge. And that Sunday, I got up early to go play basketball, and I ended up not going to play basketball, so I had a perfect duffel bag in my car that had clean clothes in it. I get to the church, and I go inside, and I'm just sitting there worshiping, and then suddenly the Holy Spirit slapped me on the back of the head. It's like, you did walk away. You denied that sprinkling. So in your own words, you're a hypocrite. So get up there and take the plunge. And I don't remember anything about that service except taking that plunge. Looking back on it, I was wrecked. So, but I know after taking that moment, I knew there was going to be attacks coming immediately after, because as soon as you get baptized and it's the actual baptism that your heart is fully in on it, I knew the devil was going to come after me, and he tried. But at that point, after every single attack, the Holy Spirit kept saying, nope, you're good. Jesus took care of it. You're clean. You can't be dirty again. And
Sorry.
I'm still wrecked about it. But it was just that moment of change. And a couple months later, I got plugged in the youth group. I started playing on the worship team again. And then I ended my Christian counseling, and the counselor's like, at this point, I don't have much else for you. Go become a member of a church. Before I could become a member of my old church, they went and merged with another church, and then 2020 happened. And at that point, I've been dating LaDonna for about a year, and not 8 months or so, 7 or 8 months. And then Thrive was like, they didn't like being shut down, so they started doing these services outdoors and parking lots and trying to find a place to meet. And I was like, well, if there's a church meeting, I'd like to go there. I'm tired of this online stuff.
I couldn't wait for you to come to Thrive.
I came once before the shutdown.
Right.
We joke about it because she said one time, it's like, every time you go to your church, I feel like you're cheating on me with another church. It's like, what? I'm on the worship team. I'm a youth leader. What are you talking about? I'm serving. So
that was
I know,
only a few weeks.
Yeah, it was a few weeks for that happened. But with that being said, she encouraged me in bringing me to Thrive, and since they met and my other church didn't, I ended up coming to Thrive and sticking around. And
also, everyone didn't know that you existed, right?
Yeah, everybody was hearing LaDonna apparently talk about me. Like, who's this guy? She seems to like him, but I don't trust him. So, Thrive was like it was almost like coming to a church full of big brothers. The skeptical eye was turned on me immediately, but apparently I was too dumb to notice it. So I just came and was myself, and they seemed to like me. So according to Alan, at our wedding, he's like, okay, this will work.
This will be fine.
But kind of that. I look at myself sort of like the prodigal child, where I started off in the presence of God. I walked away from it, and I knew it was much better, and came back.
Yeah.
And I never want to go back to where I was.
Never.
Let's stick around right here. I like being in God's presence and in His grace.
It's really incredible to think that the pandemic and the shutdowns and everything led to a lot of people who are very important to Thrive now coming to Thrive.
Yeah.
It eventually brought you as a full-time member and our guru for stacking the trailer. And through other circumstances, that's how Bobby and I ended up at Thrive as members and now children's pastors. So it's almost like God used in the pandemic to still work his plans out. It's interesting how he can do that.
Those were like my first thoughts when they first started coming to Thrive. I'm like, they're amazing in kids ministry. Those were my first thoughts.
Yeah.
But
yeah. We became free agents, and Thrive made the best offer.
Yeah, Thrive was still open, so it gave us a good place to go. You're right. Looking at it and hearing the stories about it, there are 3 ministries now that have stable people leading them because of the pandemic. So you guys, us, and then the Smiths, Michelle Smith leading the greeter team.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's other stuff
and our
that's going
pastor
on.
leading the church.
No. And Michelle not only leads the greeting team, she's now the administrator for the church, which also further takes the burden off of Pastor Brian. And the one thing about pastors is no matter how much you take off their plate, it still gets refilled. So the more hands, the easier it is on the pastor, and the more successful the church and everything can be. So it's really exciting, and this is the year that Thrive gets our permanent building and home.
Yes. I'll agree with that statement.
Yep.
I'm declaring that in faith, because Michael Jordan, he's the GOAT. So 23 is going to be the GOAT year.
GOAT year. There you go.
I don't know how biblical that is, Dave, but because I'm a Chicagoan, I'll allow it.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
So now we followed a journey to come together. How hard, or was there any difficulty in blending the families?
Oh, difficulty?
Because LaDonna mentioned that she has her 2 girls, and then Jesse had his daughter Chrislyn as well. So you're blending a family, and now you're building a family. The literal personification of yours, mine, and ours. Now, how hard was that to make that work?
Well, I know for me it was going from being a father of a 7-year-old to having teenagers. I kind of was blessed by being in youth ministry before that, so dealing with teenagers is something I did. But it's, of course, very different when suddenly it's your responsibility when they're home, not just once or twice a week for an hour.
When he is considered the father figure rather than just a youth leader.
Yeah.
Big roles. Big role difference.
And also, I guess for me, the biggest change was there's no longer, shall we call it, a day off.
Yeah.
With Chrislyn, she'd go up to her mom on the weekends, and I'd have a couple days where I'm not, I don't have to be a dad for a moment, and I can be Jesse.
And I had the same as a single mom.
That was one of those, there was a lot of changes with that. We're still coming to terms with what all those changes are going to end up being. It's only been 2 years, although it feels like it's been a little longer. But I know I love seeing where the girls are at right now, the growth that they've had, all 3 of them. I know Kristen's been blessed by it, and I hope Bella and Rosie feel as blessed as I look at them and say they're coming along beautifully on that.
Yeah.
We still have a long way to go.
So there, in the beginning, there was a lot of bumpiness, right? And there was a lot of trying to pray together, do devotions together, trying to do a lot together. And we still do have our family nights on Monday nights now. And we'll do it sometimes on Sunday nights if there's no.
Sorry.
Huh?
We did Family Day today. You're okay.
Oh, yeah. No, we did Family Day today because it was a holiday. It was Martin Luther King Jr.'s day. So as we've blended and as we mentored and got through the hard disciplines and through them maturing and growing as teenagers, and then Chrislyn because she does have to travel so far from Wisconsin to us, and that does put a lot of strain on Sundays for us. And I mean, it's nice to get little breaks here and there, and it is nice that we have teenagers to take care of and help take care of Chrislyn and babies, you know. Soon to be babies. And they all adore their little brother. And it was prophesied that Joshua would unite our family even more. And he did immensely. Like, there's a spark of joy every day when we wake up to him, you know. Everyone wants to fight over him in a gentle way. But
my turn to hold Joshua.
Yeah. So they are growing, and I believe God put us in this place of youth ministry while these girls are at this age, you know. And we've learned a balance. We've learned when to say no. And because we're both yes. And sometimes we need to say no. You know, and that's when you put your family first, and that's okay. It is okay, you know.
I know we both have sort of a similar mentality where if somebody asks us to do something, especially for the church, it's our first instinct is yes. And that does lead to a lot of burnout and neglect of other things that need to be taken care of. But yeah, the learning to say, you know what, maybe this one's not for us. It's kind of helped us learn that balance side so that we can still make sure the girls know we're there for them as well, and take them out to go to dinner every now and then, or just have a dinner around the kitchen table together and talk.
Because if your home is not taken care of, your ministry will fall apart.
Yeah.
As well.
That's in Timothy, I think. So Titus, or one of them. So, but yeah, we're learning that leadership in the church as well as leadership in the home balance. It kind of plays into each other. If your home life is balanced, ministry feels a little bit easier. Yeah, I will admit that. So,
and going back to the blended families, I remember at your wedding ceremony that you all not only made vows for each other, but you made vows for the three girls, LaDonna to Chrislyn and Jessie to Bella and Rosie. What inspired that? And to anybody that is potentially going to blend a family, how important was it to make those vows to the girls, because they're getting married into a new family just like you guys are?
Yeah.
I think the inspiration came from a Facebook video. There was a dad marrying, or not a dad. It was a guy becoming a dad through marrying this woman, and called her up, and he basically got down on one knee and said, "Before we go through with this, I just want to know, is it okay if I marry your mommy and become your dad?" Now this girl was like 3 years old or 4 years old. And it was just one of those, like, you know, these kids are going to be thrust into a new relationship with us as well, and they need to know that they can tick me off as much as they want to. I'm still gonna let them have a place to sleep, food to eat, clothes on their back, a home. And yeah, same here. Like, we're not going to kick you out as soon as we want to. I might joke about it, but you're free to stay until you need to go. You know? But it's like they needed to know that this was something stable, because I know for her girls going through life with a single mom for 12 years, there wasn't zero relationships. I know LaDonna had a few people that she was with and dating, and guys came, guys went. Some were terrible, some were blah, and they don't even remember all of them.
There was only a few that came around.
Yeah, there was a few. I might be exaggerating a little, but it was just one of those, like,
I'm to keep my dating life private.
It was more of the I'm here to stay. I'm not a fly-by-night guy, and I'm not going to be a fly-by-night for you either. So even after you move out for college or move out to get married or whatnot, you're still free to visit, you know. And I know Chrislyn definitely, when you did your stuff for Chris, I know it touched her, even though she may not remember everything because she was only
5.
Yeah, she was only 5 at the time, so she might remember getting the necklace and mommy saying something nice, but she at least knows mommy started off on a "I love you" foot, and just like I'm trying to do for Bella and Rosie, mommy wants to do for her.
So I know that, like, as teenagers, they show appreciation here and there, but I know that deeply, like, and they'll say it to me, and maybe they'll say it to him eventually, but they really appreciate that we protect them more than other parents do in their surroundings. Bella will tell me sometimes, and so will Rosie, well, I'm glad you did this. I'm glad you and Jesse did this.
Yeah.
I'm glad you, like, so they're going to see that as time goes by. Yes, we're not like all parents.
That's a good.
We are a little more protective.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
The teenagers have come to me a few times and said something along the lines of like, my friends' parents don't do this to them. And I've looked at them as like, well, some parents suck.
I feel like they challenge us by saying that. So then we could take on that challenge. Oh, we're going to protect you even more.
Really? You want me to be able to let you do whatever the heck you want to? No. I love you too much to let you do that. So.
And the thing about kids, no matter what age they are, they need to know that there are boundaries there. They'll test them to make sure that the boundary is still there.
Yeah,
They're like,
what I feel like happens, yeah.
And they feel safer. They feel safer when there's a boundary.
Yeah.
They feel safer when there's a wall that they can touch.
I got a few walls we got to build still, so we're working on it.
Yeah.
There's still a few cracks in this one, but it's new. So.
Yeah.
It's settling. The foundation's settling. You got to fill the cracks in.
Yeah, we're not communists. They are, though. Every teenager is a socialist until they get a job and pay taxes. So.
Well, Bella just got her first job, so congratulations to her. She's now a taxpayer.
And she already deposited her first check to her savings. So
very nice.
Can't wait for her to have a license to drive herself to and from work.
Very nice. So we're going to transition into the first of the 2 final segments. This one, the first one is called the interrogation. It's 7 random questions that otherwise wouldn't fit in our conversation. And you guys will take turns answering each one because I want to hear both of you answer. And then we'll finish up with what I call the wise counsel. For anyone that wants to use their gifts, their talents, their passions for God's glory, what would your wise counsel be? So we'll let that one marinate in the back of the mind for now. And right now we'll do the interrogation. So first question, what makes you guys laugh?
Jesse. No.
Just about anything humorous makes me chuckle a little bit. So I'm not so picky. So
yeah.
It can be the worst dad joke or a very long story that has no point to the end of it. Wasting other people's time is one of my favorites in youth group. I have a few stories I tell. And at the end of it, the kids are like, wait, what? What was that? I was like, well, that's the end of the story. Good night, guys. Like, you just wasted an hour of my time. I was like, no, I didn't. You're going to bed. So I got you sleepy is what I did.
Yeah, he likes to tease or patronize or, me, it's like cute, very cute little things, fluffy things. And Jesse makes me laugh every day. And we laugh about comedy and laugh about a lot of videos. I mean, I have babies, or I'm going to have babies, so I laugh about babies a lot. So, a lot. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and our girls have a great sense of humor. So, yeah.
Question number 2, what's your favorite comfort food?
Comfort food.
I would say jambalaya is up there. It's got to be the right type of spicy, but sitting down with a hot plate of jambalaya, it's comfort food for me.
Typically, I would say tacos, but I'm pregnant and I love Asian food, and I like spicy food. So, and it's kind of healthy, but Yeah.
It's just a lot of salt.
Yeah.
All that soy sauce and hoisin sauce and all that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Helps you
Alright.
drink a lot of water. Yeah.
Question number 3. With whom do you most identify in Scripture?
I gotta think about that one.
I mean, I don't like comparing it, but I kind of think it's sort of like a Paul, because that, like I said, that sort of prodigal thing that I had in there, like I knew the scriptures, I knew the Bible, I went off on it, away from it, and then I came back to it, and it was just so much better after realizing what the true meaning of the gospel was, and fully understanding it. I'd probably say that would be the
Salt.
Kimmy Schwartz, Saults. Got it.
I just got that.
Was that Kimmy or Eric? I don't know.
Kimmy,
Eric
I
might be
think.
chuckling.
It was either Eric on Kimmy's profile or it was Kimmy herself, our amazing RFK director.
Yeah. So I look at that first part of my life as being like Saul, devoted to learning about the Lord, and then that breakaway point where I just messed up and God took me out of it.
So, for a short answer right now, I think sometimes I'm a Mary and sometimes I'm a Martha.
Depends whose house we're at.
Right. My house, it's Martha. I don't know.
Yeah. That's our house. She wants to make sure the food's filled and everybody's got enough water.
Yeah. I mean, to simplify it. Yeah.
All right. Very good. Number 4, what's a talent that you have that few people have seen?
What's a talent that few people have seen?
At this church or just in general?
In general.
In general? Well,
You don't play piano at Thrive, but
I don't consider piano playing much of a talent, considering most people see me on drums and I'm better at drums.
yeah.
Not as many people have seen me play sports, and I know I'm decent at it. I could probably pass for someone who frustrates people who know how to play it well, at least. But that'd probably be mine. The competitive nature of it.
Yeah.
So.
I love sports, but I've been pregnant, so I am capable. So
She can dunk. She's only 5 foot.
I cannot. But man, a talent. I love art, and I just haven't. I can problem solve pretty quickly. I do like administration a lot. So
I was going to say that her administrative talent is amazing and always makes me look better than I actually am.
aw.
So
I could always do better,
She
but-
makes me appear organized, and that's always nice.
Nice.
Yay!
Yeah. Many people may not realize just how much she puts into the youth group. So she does a great job.
Question number 5. Where would you most like to visit in this life?
Ireland.
Ireland. We just said that the other day.
I
I
don't
said,
know.
are we ever going to go to Ireland?
I think for me, I just want to go to Ireland because the accent.
Yeah.
I just want to hear people speaking it continually, so I can perfect my own Irish accent.
Yeah.
I think she'd rather go because of the scenery. So.
Yeah. Yes, I love hiking. I love sightseeing, and I obviously always wanted to go to a few countries in this lifetime. But yeah.
Question number 6. If you could go back, and this is either something that was really good and you just want to relive it, or something you want to go back and fix, either one. If you could go back and relive a moment, what is that moment?
I'll think about fixing.
Go back to relive a moment. What is that moment? That's a good question.
I loved our wedding day. I don't know.
It was a good day.
That was big for me.
If I could go back to our wedding day, I would have gotten 2 space heaters, not 1. The forecast said it was going to be 31 degrees. It was 20, and one heater was not enough for that tent.
Our engagement day was pretty amazing too, but I was moody.
Oh, you were very moody. If we could fix that, great. I almost didn't propose.
I would have fixed my mood. Yeah.
That day was a rough one. I almost didn't propose because I was like, this is so tough to propose, and she's in such a bad mood. Will she say no?
I was going through some early times.
Yeah. She was late to 3 things that day, and she doesn't like being late. And she was taking it out on everything.
LaDonna, I know you hate me right now, but will you take this ring?
LaDonna, today sucked. Can this make it better?
It did. It did so much better.
That was the best life group ever.
Yes.
It was pretty good. It was a good group. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, final question of the interrogation. What is something you hope to accomplish in 2023?
Woo! A house.
Like Thrive getting their home, we'd like ours.
Mm-hmm.
So we would love that. So yeah, we're looking for our permanent place, or at least a semi-permanent place to be and no longer rent.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we would love to accomplish this year, is to have that place that we can decorate
Settle
ourselves,
down.
paint our colors, make it
Feel settled.
our home.
There you
Make it
go.
our home.
So,
Even though you're supposed to make your home where you are, we would like to have our own home.
Right.
we'd like to be done sojourning in the desert, so to speak.
Yeah.
So,
I hear that.
Yeah.
All right. So the final question of every interview is, for anyone that wants to step up, use their gifts, their talents, their passions for God's glory, what would your wise counsel be for that person?
So what I did, and it seemed to work pretty well for me, when I saw there was a need, I just made myself available for it.
Mm-hmm.
This was when I was single. It was one of those, if God can use me, I'll let him use me sort of things. So if somebody's mentioned that they were having a hard time getting something done, I'm just going to say, is there anything I can do to help? Also knowing what your talents are. So I've said it a few times to many people, groups of people. When it comes to worship on Sunday morning, if I'm playing drums, that's when I feel like it's one of my truest forms of worshiping God, because I know he gave me a decent gift for holding a rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of the ways that I believe I worship God best on a Sunday morning, is using the talents he's given me to push it right back.
Mm-hmm.
So know your talents and how you can push that towards God. And then also just making yourself available for those extracurricular moments. So the way I got into youth ministry, I was just telling my parents, if somebody in the church comes and asks me to do something, if I can do it, I'll say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lock-in was the first thing I was invited to. Our associate pastor came up and said, we're having a lock-in for New Year's Eve. It was like 2 days before New Year's Eve or something like that, on a Friday into Saturday. And he was like, would you like to come and be a part of the lock-in? I didn't hesitate, which shocked him. I was like, yeah, sure. I got nothing else going on. And he was like, wait, it was that easy? I was like, yep, cool. And I went and did that, and I was just hooked into the fun that I had with those kids. And I stayed up all night that night and played games with the kids, made sure at least half of them were up all night. So then when they went home, they slept all day Saturday for their parents.
Yeah.
But yeah, just being available for it, and knowing you can do something, and if someone asks you to do it, do it if you can. Mm-hmm. And now that we're married, like I said, we had that mindset. It's like, oh yeah, I can do it. It's like, wait, I haven't checked with my spouse yet if we can fit it in. Mm-hmm. So still saying yes a lot, but it's making sure that we're not saying yes on date night.
Right.
or when she was expecting me to do something for the family. So.
Yeah. So as a single mom, and which I know Lisa, if she listens to this, she could relate. You try to dive in almost everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to. But I did youth group with Pastor Brian for a little while, off and on. And before that, with other churches, I was in like an acting group. I was in other groups and kids ministry and nursery. So what I believe also, if it's on your heart to step up and serve more, go to someone who is wise and pray with them about it. And then God will connect you in the right way and where you're supposed to be. I know a lot of times it's on someone's heart, and they just keep putting it on the back burner until they step up and go pray about it with another brother or sister in Christ. So so I believe prayer would help.
Absolutely. Good word.
In all things.
In all things, pray. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but yeah, so you don't have to dive into everything. So.
Good word. Well, guys, I appreciate you being on and sharing your story. And I know that the Lord uses it, even if it's just to one person, to bless them, to encourage them that that nothing is hopeless, that God can redeem it. All you got to do is trust Him to do it. And love your family. Congratulations to you both on baby number 2, Elijah, due in July? May. Oh, hopefully not July.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much for being on and for all that you do for the youth and for Thrive. You guys are invaluable, and I just love doing life with you guys.
Thank you. We do too.
We love you too, Dave.
We love you.
All right. And for everybody watching, join us next week. I got 2 more special guests, another married couple. This is going to be Billy and Katie Willis from Youth Alliance Illinois. They're phenomenal. Got to hang out with Billy this weekend at the PK retreat. Play a little 9 square with him, and they've got an awesome story, and what they're doing throughout Illinois and bringing the gospel into public schools is phenomenal through Youth Alive. So Jesse and LaDonna, you guys get home to your kids. Let the people at Panera clean up, and we'll see you guys soon. Have a great week.
See you soon.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Love you.
We'll see everybody next week.